Making musical instruments, or anything that makes a pleasant sound for that matter, takes a lot of hard work, skill, and dedication. But even a regular guy like me can make the two simplest instruments in the world. First off is a triangle.
Just to clarify, this is what I mean when I say triangle. It's a bit ironic that the triangle itself was actually the easiest part to forge, and the design is also very self-explanatory. I just took a bar, put scrolls on both ends, and bent it. Pretty much the only thing you have to be mindful of is that every side has to be the exact same length. I went with 6 inches just because it felt like a good size. Also, all of your bends need to be even. I honestly didn't use a protractor for any of this, I just finagled with them in the vise and anvil until they looked about even. Now, you can't have a triangle without something to whack it with. And I wanted this triangle permanently hung up on a wall like a dinner bell, so I'm going to design my whacker with a loop on the end. You can punch this or just do a simple loop, but I went with this wraparound design. It can be a hassle to forge because you have to make sure your loop is the right size and you have to keep your coils tight. However, I definitely think it's worth it because it really does look like a rope. I think that design elements like these look so cool because they really emphasize the fact that the metal was once hot enough to be easily malleable. Now, as for what's actually going to be holding up the triangle, I'm going to forge basically just a fancy hook that you can mount on the wall and hang the triangle from. Also, I wanted to try a different way of putting my second screw hole in. I wanted something that looked more similar to my leaf, which is just a flattened area, so I used my holdfast and the Pritchel hole to hold my workpiece in place, while I used mild steel top tools to bash in a flat section. It actually worked quite well, however, I'm not sure about how it looks. In any case, as for the part that's actually going to be holding the triangle, I drew down a subtle taper and put a scroll on the end. I was trying to bend the hook so that it had a clear low point the triangle will naturally rest in, while also being plenty far away from the wall it's hung by. With metal, you can always just mush things around until they're in the right place, so I did some mushing and got it to look rather good, I'd say. For the triangle and beater, I just wire wheeled them and put some paste wax on because I was afraid if I did an oxide coating it would chip while we whacked them against each other. However, for the hook, I did a classic oxide finish with my homemade paste wax. And I also forged this tiny loop because I forgot to forge a loop into my triangle hanger. I should have done it on the bottom of the triangle holder, but I forgot. Now, I think it came out looking pretty good, but what's more important is how it sounds.
Alright, so I've got my triangle and stick all hung up. Here's a recording of exactly what this triangle sounds like on all 3 sides. Also, for some reason, the piano tuner app on my phone really disagrees with this, so it won't tell me what note it's playing, but it sounds good, so I'm not going to complain. And for those who are saying a triangle is supposed to be hung like this, you could totally do that. It sounds pretty much the same, but it does sustain for a little bit longer. Triangles are great, but they have a very, very bright sound. So what's something that has the opposite, a very kind of dull and dry sound? A cowbell. Okay, so my plan for the cowbell is to cut something that looks a lot like this out of this piece of sheet steel, and then I'll fold it up and it'll look like this. And these little flaps I'll fold down and I'll maybe rivet them in place or something. And I'm very glad that I made a paper mock-up because now that I have this in front of me, it makes intuitive sense that this needs to be twice as long as these if I don't want them to overlap. But I didn't think of that when I was just, drawing this on my little piece of paper. So I'll keep that in mind and I'll use this as a template to cut out of my sheet steel. I love this sound. So now that I've got my outline all nicely scribed out, I'll just cut it out. Okay, so here I've got my little sheet that I'm going to fold on all of these lines to turn into a cowbell. Now, the next problem is the order of operations. The problem that I'm running into is this needs to have a handle and some jangly bits down in here. And I want to rivet all of this so that there's no welding on it. But I need to figure out, do I put my jangly bits in first and then fold it? Or do I fold it in some places, then put those in, and then fold it in the other places? So I'm going to think about that when I'm actually forging my little jangly bits.
I've been talking a lot this video, and I'm going to explain exactly what these do later anyways, so I'll just let you enjoy the shop sounds. If you don't like that, no worries, just skip to the next chapter of the video.
Okay, so let me try and explain my design a little bit. Here is our little clamshell that's going to be folded up to make our cowbell. And this little handle is going to be up top. And I'm going to rivet on these two little flaps. So this is going to be riveted on right here. And then this is my dangly bits that are going to hang down and clink. So I'll put a rivet straight through there like that. I think what I'm going to do is I'm going to fold these 4 little flaps on the sides, and then I'm going to rivet everything together, and then I'm going to do the last 4 bends. Okay, so we'll put the rivet through here, and then through here. That's perfect. We got the jangly bits and the handle all tied in beautifully together. I mean, it looks like a cowbell, it sounds like a cowbell. I reckon this is a cowbell. I'm glad I can make this work without any welding because I'm not very good at working with sheet metal and I'm not the best at riveting things either. So this was a very educational project for me. I hope you enjoyed today's exploration into things that make sound, and I hope you have a fantastic day. I'll see you in the next one.